Alright, I'll save everyone some time right now. This video is me arguing that Black Ops 4 will start out strong and then very quickly after launch start hemorrhaging players and eventually end up recognized as yet another failed iteration of Call of Duty.
It's not true. That's impossible!
Search your feelings, you know it to be true.
No!
I know some people disagree, and that's fine, but the writing is on the wall for the Call of Duty universe as a whole. It's been there for a while, and it can be incrementally staved off for a time, but right now the franchise is the epitome of a one-way street, and while it's true you can go down a one-way street at varying speeds, it's still a singular direction, ending in a very well-known, and in this case, very disappointing location. The truth of the matter is, Call of Duty has stopped innovating. On a surface level, it may appear that Black Ops 4 breaks this trend, but in reality, it is the exact opposite. Black Ops 4 sinks even deeper into a production cycle of monotonous familiarity and lack of new material. Some Call of Duty fans will undoubtedly comment right now about the introduction of a better functioning class system, an increase in time to kill, vehicles, and the much anticipated Battle Royale format introduction in the form of Blackout, which could end up being a critical selling point that makes the game seem successful from a sales perspective, but is really just an adrenaline shot in a dying body. Call of Duty Black Ops 4, at its core, is paying more for less. It's a common industry trend, and no one should be surprised to see it here, but that does not make it any easier to stomach for true Call of Duty fans. To be realistic, the campaign was not necessarily the centerpiece for the most popular Call of Duty franchise entries, but it most definitely played a part in them being well-rounded enough to deserve the price tag and rope in a wide range of players. If you have tons of hours in Call of Duty Zombies, this video actually probably doesn't really make any sense to you. You should buy it, most likely. It's basically built for you specifically, the game is. But a large demographic of gamers do not fall into that category and will become very bored very quickly. It's a great thing that a lot of players have gotten hands-on with the new Call of Duty and not rolled their eyes at the multiplayer 5 seconds into their first map, but is it really such a big win? The biggest change with the new Call of Duty is it feels less like COD than any previous version. The game has borrowed enormous amounts of content and mechanical design from competing titles, and this is not the first time either. The last major instance I will choose to highlight is their spin on parkour and wall running that made an appearance in their contemporary competitor Titanfall, and that went terribly wrong. This time around, the game is just a mishmash of mechanics which are integral and iconic within games like Siege or Overwatch, but feel completely foreign in the COD universe. Different is not in and of itself innovation, especially when different, quote unquote, isn't unique, it's just a mild spin on existing popular trends. Everything about the new Call of Duty comes off as a patchwork Frankenstein production that stitched together as many things as they could from all the other increasingly popular shooter games on the market today. The barbed wire and little shocky drone thingy, those are signature Rainbow Six Siege. The classes, as boiled down as they are, stray towards Overwatch or even Paladins. The mode that has almost everyone I know the most excited is Battle Royale, which is hopping on the Fortnite and PUBG trend, as well as pretty much every other game that's hitting the market at the moment. They all have Battle Royale incorporated. A game that repeatedly jumps into my mind whenever examining the new Black Ops 4 is Lawbreakers. It's no clone, to be sure, and the games absolutely have their own identities, but there are indeed some similarities. Lawbreakers borrowed heavily from Overwatch and Paladins, and was no small project either. It had a decent team and budget, but has become one of the biggest failures, if not the biggest failure, that I have ever seen in my entire life as a gamer. There is a multi-pronged reason for this. First, its launch window was absolutely terrible. There are specific windows where games typically release for a reason, and Lawbreakers ignored that. But second, it borrowed so much from Overwatch and Paladins in its core identity that no one cared for yet another team hero class shooter. The same thing looks to be possible with Black Ops 4 this time around. What the new Call of Duty does have in its corner is name recognition. So many people crave a replication of those first months playing Call of Duty. Back in the day, whether it was Modern Warfare or some others, in my case World at War on the 360, they want that same level of investment, that same pacing and immersion, but it will never ever be possible because almost every single thing that was present in those games has been stripped away or dumbed down to a formulaic regurgitation of perceived popular trends on a yearly release cycle. A closer examination of almost all the widely accepted popular Call of Duty maps will easily reveal asymmetrical design. Instead, this time around and in recent years as well, we see blueprinted 3-path maps, close quarters, and exact symmetrical design for both sides, which eliminated a huge, if often subconscious, influential factor on dynamic gameplay and user enjoyment. In previous COD games, you could have a superior position or a series of terrain advantages which greatly affected the gameplay. That's no longer possible, as almost every single map is a flat, simple, tight rectangle that spurs fast-paced, close-quarters gameplay. Games that pile on top of trends are almost never even remotely as successful as those that innovate their own identity. Call of Duty innovated the shooter space way back in the day. Iconic mechanics like kill streaks lit up the gaming scene with interest for a reason, but they have digressed from those days so far that the series is now, a fitting comparison here, a zombie, essentially. Think back to MMORPGs with World of Warcraft, one of the pillars in all of gaming if we're being totally honest. How many titles borrowed heavily from WoW, and how many of them got even a tiny, minuscule fraction of the same interest? The reason is because the first game to introduce something new captures that audience, more often than not gaining a loyal following because of it, and further titles that borrow the same ideas just never have that spark. If further titles borrow ideas while pushing the envelope further, that's a different story entirely. Fortnite is a great example of that. Battle Royale has existed for a long time, but Fortnite took the free-to-play model with cosmetic customization, building, which is an entirely unique mechanic in the genre in and of itself, and art style and gameplay pacing, and it combined all of these things to create something that gave gamers a new experience. Call of Duty is taking existing concepts from a bunch of well-established games while diverging from the core experience that many of the OG players know and love, and it's mashing them together to form something passable-ish, but not capable of reversing its downward spiral as a franchise. If the new Black Ops 4 was launching into a world where there was no Overwatch, no Rainbow Six Siege, and no horrifically oversaturated Battle Royale pool, it would probably be somewhat of a hit, I guess, a sort of success, but it isn't. It's launching into a field of killer competition with weak knees. The Battle Royale portion will probably be one of the biggest spiking factors in their sales data, but Battle Royale is not a repeatable yearly release format that they can regurgitate with minimal changes over and over. It's a one-off for them. If the echoing praise of your game is, wow, this feels more like Siege and Destiny and CSGO and Overwatch than it does like Call of Duty, is that a win? Is that an epic victory? Is that something to be proud of, and does that herald a new age in a franchise that resembles a fish flopping on a dry ship's deck? The answer for anyone who's actually being honest with themselves is no, it doesn't. A regression from broken games that infuriate your core fanbase to a mashup of ripped off mechanics and modes that culminate in a product that is less in every metric than those it draws from is not a step in the right direction, it's simply less of a step in the wrong one. Call of Duty has stopped innovating and fallen into a harmful yet appealing routine of easy production and fast profits. No risks are being taken whatsoever. The biggest risk, one could argue, is an increase in time to kill, so that it feels more like Destiny or something similar, and that's already having mixed reception within the community. Without new, innovative ideas, Call of Duty will simply fracture its fanbase every progressive year, which is already the case for quite some time, actually, with overcharging prices, lazy production, and a few moderate changes just large enough to create a schism in their core fanbase, but too small to usher in real change or gain a new following. It's unbelievable to me how many years this has already been going on. Since Ghosts, I've had increasing reservations, but time and time again, they have gone further down the one-way street. With companies like EA and Bungie, we've seen communities hit their breaking point, but I do not believe that the Call of Duty community has truly hit theirs yet, and when they do, it's going to be spectacular. It kind of happened with Infinite Warfare, but not enough, and since then, it just kept building. The more recent World War II version prolonged the inevitable storm, and perhaps Black Ops 4 will as well, for no other reason than the Battle Royale mode, but the Call of Duty model is obsolete. It's like a train with the locomotive and 3 of its cars already off a cliff, pulling the rest over. There is no coming back without drastic, irreversible action, and certainly the yearly release model is not what is needed. Other companies who utilize the same model have already woken up to that fact. Assassin's Creed for so long headed down the same exact road to worse and worse reception, until with Origins they took a year off. Ubisoft made a change and it worked quite well, but with Assassin's Creed Odyssey, they are back walking down that same road, and it has nowhere to go but down with reskinned, uninteresting, and bland content void of all innovation. Call of Duty is so much further down that road though, and it will be interesting to see how it all pans out. My prediction is that Call of Duty Black Ops 4 is obviously destined to fail completely. It could maintain mild popularity due to its battle royale or a heavy emphasis on marketing and its competitive scene, that could help, but it doesn't have the legs to stand, and it won't even be looked at alongside the other high profile titles this year. I also predict that it will very soon re-evaluate the yearly release model, but that the damage has been done already, and even skipping one rotation or 1 year will only have a negligible effect on their dwindling numbers, and ultimately, Call of Duty is a thing of the past. Something new will rise up eventually and make meaningful changes in the shooter genre and capture the players that itch for some original Call of Duty style fix, but we don't know when that will be. It could be a long time. What do all of you think? I already know this video is going to get hit pretty hard by peer review as some angry Call of Duty diehard fans dive in and go ham, but I'm prepared for that. Honestly, I am. And I also am genuinely curious as to everyone's thoughts on both the current state of Call of Duty and its future. What do you think of my predictions? Way off base or maybe pretty on point? And also let me know in the comments down below what you feel. Additionally, there are a bunch of links to support the channel as well in the description. We have a Facebook group, a Discord server, independent gaming forums. You can follow me on Twitter or check out our merch, etc., etc. But I'll cut it there. That's enough ranting from me. Thank you for watching, and as always, have a nice night.